By the Norwegian invader Harald Hardrada. Some 70 years later, a castle was built here, and this was developed and enlarged throughout the medieval period. This site was the scene of an epic siege during the Civil War, was attacked from the sea in the First World War, and served as a listening station for intercepting enemy transmissions in World War II. But the headland's heyday was the medieval period, when this castle was one of the great fortresses of England, as well as a royal residence. Kings, queens and powerful nobles all came to stay here. They, their attendants and baggage trains passing through the Barbican gatehouse, as you have done today. This cobbled approach was then a narrow passage, with massive walls on either side, soaring some 5.5 meters, 18 feet high, and winding up the hill to the summit. Above them stood a further gatehouse with a portcullis, which controlled 2 drawbridges over the deep double ditches below. Up and up they climbed, until they reached the castle gate, now long gone, which guarded the castle buildings that were massed on the headland.
I, Sir Hugh Cholmondeley, shall never forget the fall of the Great Keep, an event shown in this illustration. It was in the year 1645, when we were under siege here in the castle. I was governor, holding the castle in Charles I, and Sir John Belton led the enemy, the parliamentarian forces. At first, Sir John hadn't used force. He offered my officers terms to leave the castle, but they stuck by me. Then he fired arrows into the castle. They carried messages to our soldiers, again offering terms and money if they deserted. But all stood firm and prepared for battle. While Sir John was positioning his cannons down on the cliff beyond the gatehouse, the wind blew his hat off his head. As he stretched up to catch it, his cloak was blown over his face, and he fell over the cliff onto the rocks below. It was a miracle his brains were not beaten out and all his bones broken, but the wind and his billowing cloak lessened the fall. Nevertheless, it took him 6 weeks to recover, and then the attack began. After 3 days, his battering cannon fire split the great tower, the keep, in 2, and one side fell down. There were 20 people on top of the keep, but all except 2 managed to get into the part left standing. The fall of the keep was a terrible spectacle. The enemy gave a great shout as it crashed down here where we stand, and the rubble blocked the gatehouse from the castle. But it did them no good, for we still repulsed them. After this, we caused them great damage by using the stone from the fallen tower as missiles. We suffered casualties too, but there were some miraculous escapes. One soldier had his hat shot off with a cannonball 34 pounds in weight. His hair and skin were taken, but there was no other harm, although he was a little dizzy that night and the next day while on duty. Though the enemy fired many hundreds of cannon shot, only 5 of our men were killed by them. But very many were killed by the stones the cannons blasted from the walls. Greetings. I, Petronius, legionary of the 6th Victrix of York, have been detailed to tell you about this signal station. I was picked, for I served long stretches in perishing cold it was in winter, I can tell you, even though it was built out of stone of the Roman faith. Over the weather, we had to stay alert, keeping our eyes skinned to the north, to the south, and out to sea, scanning the horizon. To protect it from attack by land, a ditch and a massive square wall surrounded the courtyard with the tower in its center. The tower loomed so high that it could be seen from miles around, and we could see for miles too, of course. This tower was one of a chain strung out along this part of the coast. They had beacons burning in them, which were covered to hide their light. Then, when we needed to signal to each other, and those watching from inland, of course, we took the covers off, then put them on again, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. Our signals were in code, you see, so some flashes of light meant one thing, different one single smile. It would be broadcast, so there could be no mistaking any of the messages sent. It seems to me that our method of signaling is still being used in your day. Dots and dashes, semaphore, all based on our codes. Nothing's ever new in this world, I say.
King John was a great craftsman, and during his turbulent reign, he undertook a massive reconstruction of Scarborough Castle. Between 1198 and 1212, he spent more money on this castle than any other in the kingdom. In front of you are the ruins of the Royal Chamber Block, a luxurious suite of apartments that he built for himself. As the illustration shows, it was a two-story building which rose above the castle walls. Two exterior staircases led up to the upper level, where the king's apartments were, the Great Chamber and Bedchamber. There may have been a small chapel there too. Below were chambers for his household officers. Both the king's rooms had fireplaces and would have been colourfully furnished with rich fabrics. All the furniture and furnishings would have been brought with the court when it arrived, and taken away when it left, ready to be used at the next port of call. The only defences Scarborough had were 5 18th century mounted guns, no match for the German navy. The bombardment lasted 30 minutes. One half of the town was battered. Then there was an eerie silence for 3 minutes before the other half was attacked. More than 80 people were seriously injured, and 17 civilians were killed. These included 8 women and 4 children, and "Remember Scarborough" became a rallying cry for recruitment. Churchill, who was First Lord of the Admiralty at the time, wrote to Scarborough's men, saying,
"There are fleets of arms the German Navy may hereafter hold. The stigma of the baby killers of Scarborough will brand its officers and men while sailors sail the seas."
The castle keep, looming large on the horizon, was one of the
at the grave. He swears he's gonna give it up. It's never gonna be enough. I just wanna be there when you're all alone, thinking about a better day, when you had it in your bones. This could be the end. 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 I see you in the evening, sitting on your throne. You're playing with the fireball and posted up against the wall. I just wanna hold you, take you by your hand, and tell you that you're good enough, and tell you that it's gonna